I'm good to go. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Stevens. I do diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting in video games and esports, and the most nerd spaces, which roughly translates to the fact that I tell people how to not be racist for a living. And I sprinkle in a little bit about transphobia, homophobia, misogyny, all those wonderful things. And today we're going to talk about bridging the gap, bridging the diversity gap in esports. So I'm going to start with a very basic question. I'm going to point to one of you like you're one of my students, and you're going to answer it. I feel really bad for whoever I point at. If you don't want to answer, that's fine. You can just shake your head no, and I will answer the question for you. What is esports? My guy. Shake your head no. Sick. All right, so esports is electronic sports, meaning competitive video games. And that is a very broad term. Is speedrunning an esport? I think so. Is Smash an esport? No, it's a party game. Is Tekken an esport? Yes. Is Mario Kart an esport? Only if you don't like having friends. Now, when we think about esports, I'm not going to try to race bait anybody or anything, but we probably have a certain set of ethnicities we think about when we think about esports athletes. But there is a myriad of people that do professionally work in the esports ecosystem and compete in the games professionally. But I'm going to ask y'all a rhetorical question because, you all don't have a microphone, and it will make recording this presentation a lot easier. When I say, what do you need to play soccer? I want you all to think in your minds an image. Do we all have an image in our minds? Awesome. All you need to play soccer is a ball. You don't need cleats, shin guards, a net, a field. You need a ball, preferably one other person to play with. When I say, what do you need to play football? We're all going to conjure an image in our mind. All you need to play football is some other people to play with and a ball, preferably a football. But we can skip on that. We could use a dodgeball. We could use a tennis ball. It might not be the same game, but as long as we're playing with the same rules, we're still essentially playing football. More complicated. When I say, what do we need to play basketball? Conjure an image in your minds. We put on our thinking caps. What do we need to play basketball? We need a ball, a hoop, preferably a net. And some of you are going to be like, but Amanda, you said with the other games, you don't need a whole lot of other things. But here's where the community aspect comes in. Where I live in Troy, New York, right off of 9th Street, I can throw a brick at RPI if I really wanted to. I can go in any direction for about 3 miles and hit a public basketball court. Various conditions, various amount of net, maybe not even a hoop, but still a basketball court. And in those cases where there's not even a hoop, we can just say if you hit the backboard, that's a point. We're still kind of playing basketball, right? We don't need all the accoutrements. Now, when I say, what do you need to play StarCraft? Put on your thinking caps. When I count to 3, somebody loudly say, and maybe all together if we're really coordinated and special like that, what you think you need to play a game like StarCraft, Overwatch, League of Legends, CSGO. So 1, 2, 3. Wow, okay, so a couple things were said. We're gonna get to them. A PC. Yep, you need a PC to play StarCraft or League of Legends or Overwatch. We need the game. We missed something. Oh, hey, we got it. Ding, 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 ding. We need internet. Does everybody in this room have the same quality of internet? No. I pay for roughly half a gig down, quarter of a gig up. Anybody else got that? Doesn't seem it. I lived in an apartment in Albany where my internet, because it had to be DSL, was 15 down, 0.5 up. Do you think I can play a real-time PvP game comparably with that type of internet speed? I'm seeing a bunch of people shake their head. This is all for the people watching at home. The answer is no. But when we think about esports, right, we're like, well, oh, all you need is a computer. Everybody's got a computer. Oh, we don't even think about the internet part because we all assume that everybody has internet, everybody has at least decent internet. Last I checked, I lived in the United States, though, and internet is not a utility. So all of our internet speeds are different. All of our quality of internet is different. And for those of us who have Spectrum, we all know how terrible our internet can be. Right? So, have we noticed a little trick I did to help you understand where I'm starting from? When it comes to sports, we don't need a whole lot. If I want to become good at basketball, I can sit on a basketball court, practice my dribbling. I can run suicides. I can practice my free throw. I can practice my three-point shot. I can be like, today, I suck shooting in the paint. I'm going to not leave the court tonight until I've sunk 100 shots. Now, my parents don't need that court, right? So I can spend hours and 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 hours on the court. Does it disrupt anything else that my family's trying to do? Can my little sister still do her homework if I'm playing basketball on the court? Can my dad still file his taxes while I'm on the court? But if I take over the one computer in the family and try to play League of Legends and get real good and real technical about playing jungle, and we have one computer, can my sister do her homework while I'm at the computer? Can my dad file his taxes while I'm at the computer? Can my mom fill out that job application while I'm at the computer? No. So we're starting to see a bit of where this diversity gap comes in, right? Because we don't have equal access. So when I get asked, as somebody who works in esports, why don't I see more black and brown people in League of Legends? Or why don't I see more black and brown people in Valorant? Well, we learned something during the pandemic recently when we sent all the children home to do their schoolwork. How many of us saw all those news stories about students who couldn't do the schoolwork, couldn't go on Zoom because they found out, oh crap, these kids don't have computers? Raise your hands if you're experiencing any of those news stories. Oh wow, almost the entire room. Huh. It's like everybody doesn't have a computer. But I can go to like Walmart and buy a basketball for like what, 15 bucks? If that, maybe 20? How much is a computer? Depends on what specs I want. And then someone who's gonna be smart is gonna be like, well, you can buy a Chromebook. Yeah, you come back to me after you try to play Overwatch on a Chromebook. If that thing doesn't start smoking and then spontaneously combusting, man, I'm impressed. So how do we fix it though, right? If we understand that sports are really easy to get people into, and then when you go to school and you say, I want to play soccer, they go, cool, you have a ball, you're gonna have a field, you're gonna have a coach. Some schools are even gonna give you your own shin guards. And if I say I want to play football, most schools just give you all your padding. They give you your helmet. Most of the expensive parts of playing the sport taken care of. So then how do we fix it for esports?
Turn basketballs into computers.
Man, yo, state alchemy exam, go. I need you to make a transmutation circle, put a football in it, do some hand signs, touch the ground, and let's get a computer. Right? Questions later. Most of what I'm asking now is rhetorical. One of the ways that we can fix it is we treat esports not as like this special interest that only people of like who are already interested in it have access to, but we treat the same way we treat music, the same way we treat sports. How many of us have ever been to a library? Raise your hands. Cool. This next question is going to be real easy. Raise your hand if you think libraries have computers. Oh, wow, good. Glad that there was not like a decline. I was real worried for a second. I would say, how many libraries have computers? And then like half the hands went down. I would be like, what library did you go to? Because we might have to start at a different level then. We might have to reevaluate this entire talk. How many of you went to a middle school that had a computer lab? High school have a computer lab? Awesome. So, what if we invested in our community centers and our libraries, right? Because how many of you know that you can start a business at your local library? Oh, y'all didn't know that? Yeah, you can go to most local libraries and be like, I'm interested in starting an LLC. Your librarian's trained to help you with that. Did you know you can get snowshoes at a library? Did you know you can file your taxes at a library? Why would you go to H&R Block? I go to my library. That shit's free. Did you know you can get an umbrella at a library? Audiobooks? Movies? What if our library, just like they have knitting programs and tax filing programs, business skills programs, Esports after school program. Does it have to be the most focused thing in the universe? We're trying to create the next Faker, the next Daigo Umehara? No. All it needs to be is the same way that we get kids excited about reading by just reading to them and showing them that books are cool, is showing them that games are cool. Most of us already know that games are cool, except for like sweaty people that play like Dark Souls. As you see, I mix in a lot of not great humor. I'm not a stand-up comedian. I'm just a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant. But at least y'all are laughing, so that makes me feel better about the whole situation. But that's the thing, right? Is that like we think about esports as like, oh, well, the reason why like people don't play esports is they're just not interested, right? They're interested in other games. But no, if you don't see it as a thing that you can do because you already know about all of the barriers, why would you ever pursue it? I thought that I could never learn a foreign language because my school system was really bad at teaching it to me. And then I discovered Duolingo, and I was like, man, this is a lot easier. Why wasn't this like this in school? Now I'm learning Spanish, and I'm really bad at it still, but I'm getting better. Same thing with making things accessible when it comes to esports. When we have, I know that this might sound scary, y'all have heard of town hall meetings, right? Where like you get to talk to your local government and make proposals. How many of you have ever gone to one of those? Man, that's disappointing, but what I expected. How do you think they decide how to allocate funding for things like community centers, schools, libraries? Where do you think that begins? Begins talking to your local representatives. I'm not even talking about senators and governors. I'm talking about like mayors, city council. It's that simple. And when I say it's that simple, a lot of you are going to be like, whoa, there's a lot of work into the proposal. There isn't. Or if you're passionate about it, it's really easy. But the problem is that like we create these barriers and we just kind of accept things. And then when we talk about, oh, well, like how do we make esports more inclusive? We talk about, oh, well, like we could restrict the speech people use when they play so that, you know, I don't have to have a slur said at me during a game. Yeah, that's important too. Don't get me wrong. Not getting called a slur every time I play League of Legends is pretty amazing. It's pretty, what do the kids say? Pog champ? Right? Think I used that correctly? But like, if we don't already have people pathing their ways towards esports, what does restricting speech have to do with anything? Right? If I don't know how to shoot a free throw, what's the point of teaching me how to do a crossover? If I don't even know what a basketball looks like, why are you going to tell me about how to do zone defense? See, for those of you who don't do sports, I can tell because you're looking at me like, what are these words being said in front of me? Sorry, I was both a jock and a nerd. But that's kind of the problem that we have right now in esports, is that we're looking at all of these things for the people who are already there, and then we're going, well, wow, there's a really small percentage of people playing these games that are minorities, whether it's women or BIPOC folks, but we need to take care of them. And it's like, well, did you know that more inclusive spaces become better and more inclusive when you add more people of those marginalized groups into the space? So if we had, and yes, allies matter. Don't get me wrong. Y'all are important too. I appreciate you. Whatever the words of encouragement you need to hear to feel better during the day. But we also have to figure out a way to inject more people into those spaces. And that's my talk. And the reason I didn't solve all of your problems is because it's a very large and systemic problem that I cannot solve in a 30-minute talk, let alone a 20-minute talk. But if you have pointed questions for me that I may or may not ridicule you for, there's a beautiful microphone right in front of me, and make sure that you please use it while you talk to me. Because I have really great hearing, but probably everybody else doesn't, and also the people at home are going to want to hear your questions too.
Video, thanks you in advance for using the microphone.
What up?
Hello. So this is actually like a full-time, like what you're focused on all the time?
Oh, like what I do for a living?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I am a full-time person that makes really bad stand-up comedy, while also occasionally talking about how to make games, tabletop, books, comic books, movies, Netflix, more inclusive. Yeah.
So it's like a consultation, you said?
Yeah, I am a full-time diversity, equity, and inclusion professional. I have worked with, for those of you who are fans of esports, I've worked with Cloud9, Gen G, T1, FaZe, Team Liquid. A lot of put team in front and then following word. Evil Geniuses. I've also worked with tournaments, so I've worked with Riot Games for Worlds. I've worked with the Evolution Championship Series. I've also had clients like Netflix and Red Bull.
Do you feel hopeful, like that things are going the way,
Man, I
you
love
want?
this question. So the short answer is no. The long answer is yes, right? Like in the interim, after any consultation that I do, I'm like, cool, I got paid to talk to people for like an hour or whatever. And then I'm never ever sure how things go. And that's one, because what I do is very compartmentalized, meaning that I only work with like a small subsect of a thing. So like I can say that like Netflix gaming may or may not be off to the right foot because of a certain black trans person that consulted for them. Don't check my NDA's wording, please. But I can also say that, like, if any of you have played the new Saints Row game and thought, wow, the character creator is really inclusive, it doesn't use gendered language in any aspect of it. Yeah, I'm real hopeful. Why? Because I worked on that. And the studio had the mindset to want to work on that. But it's not an industry-wide thing. We still go into character creators and pick female body, male voice 1, male voice 2, female voice 2, female voice 3, right? So, like, the short answer is always going to be no. The long answer is yes, because I keep getting more and more clients every year, which means that more and more people are thinking more inclusively.
I just got one more question. So,
Sure.
Is this sort of like a career you've forged, or is this
There are other people. I'm not the first person in the industry to be doing what I'm doing. I am part of a very small niche, specifically in esports. There are not a ton of people doing what I do specifically in esports. There are diversity, equity, inclusion agencies that have consulted with esports companies, but there are not full esport diversity, equity, inclusion professionals, so not a ton of people like me.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. What up?
Hey, how's it going? I'm going to first say, if I ask any questions that are way above your pay grade or anything, I am terribly sorry. I am an
you're fine.
I am an ex-player trying to get into the environment as well, so I have my experience playing in esports for 4 years and what you're bringing to the table, and I've also almost graduated with a minor in esports from my college.
Sick.
So the big question that I have is, I like the idea of the community center being forefront into a way to, I guess, kind of bring esports to like the youth, or
Path to pro.
yeah, kind of like a path to pro. how would you go about convincing the parents to allow their kids to go to this after-school program or this
Sure.
outside program to spend X hours sitting at a
Amazing.
computer?
Awesome. Wonderful. The same way I convinced my parents to let me play Magic the Gathering. I only knew, there were 15 words on the SAT exam that I knew exclusively from playing Magic the Gathering. I didn't know what the word austere meant until I saw it on a Magic card. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, that's what this means. This is sort of like the same argument that like people be like, well, you know, how do I know that like sending my kid to Taekwondo is going to teach them anything other than to hurt people? You learn discipline, you learn how to follow instructions, you learn how to work within a unit, you learn self-respect, in the same way that you do with esports. When you play esports and you're not playing like a fighting game, you're working with a team, so you have to learn interpersonal skills. You have to learn how to have good communication skills. A lot of what I do doing diversity, equity, and inclusion can be translated back into when I play esports with other people because I now know how to give clear communication. There is a team building, experimentation, learning how to take lessons from failure, from losing, right? These are all really amazing things that you get from playing any sort of like team-oriented thing, whether it be a sport or an esport. Is that time? Sure. So the short answer is that if you think about all of the skills that you use in esports, you would realize that it's not just playing video games for 2 hours or 3 hours or 1 hour, right? There's a lot of things that you do while you're playing a game in a structured team environment that only happens because you're playing in a structured team environment.
Okay. Thank you. I probably have more questions, but I don't want to take up more of your time.
So I have business cards. You can grab them because I'm about to be on another panel. And so you can come and grab a business card. I'll put a stack on this table. You're more than welcome to email me. And thank you for coming to my terrible comedy show.